Howdy, guys. Welcome to night 56 of Big Brother All-Stars. Night 56. Can you believe we are moving into week 9? That's amazing. This is Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. Hope y'all all are having a fantastic Tuesday and a good Wednesday morning to y'all. The house guests were a little bit nervous last night. Had some concerns about special things that may be happening. So let's get right into it and talk about just what made them so nervous. So what happened? Well, apparently earlier in the day on Tuesday, the house guests all gathered, watched a segment with Dr. Will. Remember, Dr. Will is the neighbor this week out in the backyard. Dr. Will, during this video segment, apparently hinted to them saying, y'all need to be thinking 3 steps ahead, which is giving the house guests the idea that this is not a normal eviction week. I've heard discussion. It could be a triple eviction. It could be a speed week with lots of evictions throughout the week. But Dr. Will certainly spilled the beans a little bit in his little Easter egg that he planted. Why? Why is CBS giving these people any heads up at all? I want to see complete surprise on their face. But now they think something is going on, so they're trying to prepare for it. Based on that conversation, a lot of the house guests were thinking that last night was going to be a surprise show, that Julie would suddenly show up at 5 o'clock Big Brother time, so just a little bit before that. Quite a few of them were getting dressed and getting all prepared, ready, going over their dates, memories, everything in preparation for what they thought was a surprise eviction that never came. So they waited for a little while, eventually gave up on it. Now they're thinking that tonight may be a surprise eviction show. Again, I've heard triple eviction mentioned, but a lot of people, and we'll talk about it in a second, a lot of people are thinking it won't all be on Thursday night. It's going to be spread out in some form or manner. So what did that lead to? Well, we've had some conversations. It was some campaigning we'll talk about, but also a lot of people trying to get ready just in case we do have a surprise show. So let's get right to the conversations. We'll start in the HOH room. Danny and Cody are talking. They're talking about David and Kevin, who have been campaigning today, and the differences in their campaign strategies and how they're trying to promote themselves, how they're trying to save themselves. Kevin asked Cody to be neutral. Kevin said, Cody, if you could just be neutral, let the house decide whichever way they go, that's fine. But if you push for me to go, then I'm gone. If you can be neutral, let everyone else make the decision, then I appreciate it. Cody mentioned earlier in the day that Kevin's had a fantastic campaign pitch. And in addition to asking Cody to be neutral, Kevin's pitch was that you can use me however you want. I'm just trying to advance one more week. Use me however you want. Put me on the block every single week. I get it. That's fine. I'll accept it. Whatever it takes, I'll do it. Danny, meanwhile, talking about David's campaign pitch to her, she says that his entire pitch consisted primarily of just throwing Davon under the bus and the way she had treated him. She says that David is just clueless in the game, that he's completely lost and doesn't have any idea what he is doing. So really, she has no respect for the game he's playing. Several people have mentioned throughout the evening saying Kevin knows this game so much more. Kevin has the knowledge. He has a strategy. He just gets everything better. At this point in the game, that's not always a good thing when you're on the block, and we will talk about that. From that conversation, they then start talking about Davon. Cody is saying before he ever came in the house, his brother Paulie said, you must work with Davon. You need to work with her. But Danny points out, says, yeah, but Davon from very first weekend here was making alliances with everyone. That made it really tough. Cody says, I tried to, but really I connected with Bailey a lot, but I just never did connect with Davon. So they're thinking a little bit about Davon, who's in the jury, who potentially will be voting for one or the other to win $500,000. So they are thinking about Davon and their relationship with her. So moving on. All right, now this conversation, guys, I know you've been every bit as curious as I am, and I'm happy to let y'all know that Enzo is, as y'all are probably aware, maybe not, Enzo has been having some sensitivity, some really itchy situations with his backside. Let's just call it that. Well, I know you've been every bit as worried as I have. He told the house that he saw the doctor inside the house, probably in a diary room like that. But he saw the doctor. He has it checked out, and it isn't a rash. It's just acne from the Crisco involved in the OTEV competition. Aren't y'all feeling better already? It's just acne from Crisco. TMI, Enzo, I'm trying not to create the mental picture of that particular little examination or concern or anything else. But for those of you who are worried, it's not a rash, so we can move on with that. All right, in the comic room, Danny and Nicole are talking. Danny thinks that Kevin is just telling everyone whatever they want to hear. She really doesn't think he's sincere about his promises, his pledges. That's not good for Kevin that she doesn't believe him. Also, slightly different conversation, but part of the same too. Danny is saying that in the course of the day, Tyler is tried to convince her that he isn't tight with Christmas. Well, they've got a final two, but Danny and Christmas are probably the ones going head to head more than anyone else in this house right now within the committee. Those two just are at odds with each other. So Danny, again, is worried about Tyler's connection to Christmas and how that might affect their connection as well. So let's move on to the love room. All right, now this was an interesting conversation. Kevin's in the love room by himself. He's talking to the cameras. It's a little bit of a goodbye speech or just venting some steam and such. Kevin is saying that he doesn't think that he has the votes, and I think Kevin is probably right. He gave an offer to everyone, but he says it's just feeling different this week from the other weeks that he's been on the block. Memphis told him straight up that he didn't have his vote. Enzo said that he would only vote to keep Kevin if Cody gave the thumbs up to Enzo doing that. Kevin thinks that Nicole is mainly just patronizing him just to help maybe get his jury vote on down the road. He's thinking he probably has Danny's vote, maybe Nicole's if he's got Danny's, and maybe Christmas if he can push a little bit. He says he offered 5 deals to Tyler, to Enzo, to Cody, to Christmas, to Danny. So 5 separate people that he basically said, you can do whatever you want with me. Just please save me for this week. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's trying. Give Kevin credit. He's trying. He says he's going to keep working on Christmas and Cody. He feels like those are the 2 people. If he gets Cody, then he gets Enzo. If he gets Christmas, then that may be enough to put him over the top and save him. Don't think it's going to happen, but keep working it, Kevin. He also talks about how he does not want his anxiety to ruin this week. We've seen Kevin get a little Eeyore-ish, right? A little down in the dumps. He doesn't want that anxiety to ruin the last week that he may have in the house, the last few days. So he's going to try to enjoy his time in the house as much as he can. He also talks about that he really needs to be down hanging around with people as much as possible, hobnobbing every bit until that eviction episode. But he's a have-not. He feels like his energy is just sapped, and he's just not even able to do that. He's just not feeling up enough to interact with all of the house guests that he probably needs to be having. So Kevin's not feeling like he's got a real strong opportunity, a real strong chance, and unfortunately, he is probably right, but I hope he keeps fighting. All right, in the living room. They've had all these beach balls and inflatable toys and all of that. Well, there's a beach ball that's halfway deflated. David grabs it, opens it up. He's going to blow it back up. They were playing some basketball and stuff, so he's going to blow it back up. Kevin immediately jumps in and says, "No, Kevin, you can't do that. You can't." David says, "Why? We're all protected from COVID in here." And Kevin says, "Yeah, but you don't know who blew that ball up originally. You're gonna have their air with your lips and everything. You can't do that." And so I think David stops at that point in time. It's just a reminder that for everyone in this house, time from the outside world cut off sometime at the very end of July. They have no idea how the world has responded to COVID here over the last couple of months, what's going on. It was just a reminder how cut off these people truly are. It leads to so much stress and anxiety and everything else. So I just wanted to throw that in. It's something I noticed and thought a lot about. All right, so in the HOH room, Cody and Enzo are talking, kind of a follow-up from last night's conversation that went on for quite a while. Cody is saying that Memphis said that if Memphis wins HOH, he's putting up David and Nicole. David's definitely going to be the target. Enzo is saying, look, yo, bro, if Memphis does that, then he's proving himself to us that he's sincere and wanting to work with us and all of that. And if that's the case, then all we have to do is just clip Christmas and we should be golden. Memphis walks in right after that, and they're talking about how they're going to steamroll everyone else in the house. This is going to be so not easy, but how they're going to steamroll everyone. They're going to make it all work. What's the difference between self-confidence and arrogance? Whether you succeed or not. It seems a little arrogant to me to be that certain that you're going to make it all work, but they are very self-confident. All right, so Cody doesn't think that there's going to be a double eviction because he thinks that once the committee starts going after each other, the producers are going to want to draw that drama out as much as possible. He doesn't think they're going to want to do it all at once. Well, he doesn't know it's a triple. They're really going to do it all at once. He thinks they're going to draw it out, which is not the case, but it's going to be fireworks on Thursday instead. They're all complaining about David taking the $10,000 in the veto competition. Never mind that Enzo and Cody both tried to go for the money in the HOH competition, and that Enzo threw the competition as well. But they're upset that David took the $10K in the veto competition. They're all agreeing that Kevin is a much better player than David. And as I said earlier, I think this is going to kind of seal the deal for Kevin. Sometimes being the best player when you're on the block isn't the best situation to have, and that's definitely what they're thinking on that. Cody mentions at this point, saying that everyone came back to try and win, but David just came back for FaceTime and followers. All right, I try to be impartial here, but I cannot disagree more. That is not David. I know David, that is not him. Make fun of his game all you want, but David is, I absolutely believe, trying as hard as anyone else, and he hasn't had the pregame connections that Cody had either. But Cody thinks he's just there for FaceTime and followers. Also ignore the fact that Cody just got through earlier today talking about his strategy is to play dumb in his diary room sessions because he thinks that'll get more followers, and more followers equals more money. So, Cody, I disagree. David is here trying to win that as hard as anyone in this house. All right, Memphis is telling Cody and Enzo to get into Danny and Nicole's heads, that David has to be the target. They don't want Danny and Nicole potentially going for the guys. So get in their heads, make sure they know that David's a target. Cody is worried, however, that whoever sits next to David as a pawn will actually be a bigger threat, and there's a chance that they could go home instead because no one's going to be in a big hurry to send home David. Memphis is talking how upset he's going to be if David makes final three. I'll be kind of happy. And he says he's going to put his foot down with whoever wins the next HOH to make sure that David is the primary target. Memphis also says that Christmas is their soldier. They need to keep that relation up because she can take the shots against people that they don't feel comfortable doing it. So they need to keep Christmas around and take care of that. Cody is telling Enzo that Kevin has to go because he knows too much. Again, he's a bigger threat. They know that Davon told him everything before she left. Cody is saying that Nicole keeps talking about missing Davon, but he thinks that she's only doing that for the feeds, and really that he thinks it was more Nicole than it was Danny who was behind all of that Ian vote issue and flipping and everything else. Cody is also talking about the fact that he has caught Christmas in multiple lies, including her denying that she had said that she didn't want to sit next to him in a final two. So again, Memphis really wants to hold on to her. Cody is a little nervous about it. I really think the strategy is going to be to get Danny and Christmas to take the first shots at each other. That might still happen on Thursday. We'll see. It depends on who gets HOH, obviously. All right, so in the key room, Memphis and Christmas are talking. Memphis is wondering, saying, is this going to be the speed week with evictions on 3 separate nights? Again, at one point they were thinking last night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. Now they're thinking maybe tonight, Thursday night, and then Friday night, that we'll have an eviction every single night. But Memphis has the question of the evening. He's saying, I don't get why Big Brother told anything to us about it in the first place. I agree, Memphis. I don't understand. I thought it was going to be a complete surprise, but obviously it wasn't. Now, it has created a lot more discussions over the night feeds and even earlier in the day that we would have perhaps not had otherwise. But yeah, I'm surprised they told him as well. Memphis is saying that he thinks that telling Christmas that he thinks that they've got Enzo locked in. Well, maybe not quite as much as you think, Memphis. Yes, he's part of the wise guys, but I think he's locked in with Cody and Nicole, perhaps a little tighter than the two of y'all. But we shall see, right, guys? All right, finally, in the HOH room, Cody's going over his dates and numbers, again, in preparation, thinking it'll be a memory competition, a mental competition, either tonight or Thursday night. So he's going over his dates and numbers. And then very final, in the have-not room, Enzo and Kevin are the two have-nots. They're up there. Lights are off. They talk for 2-3 hours, a long conversation. Very little game talk. Mainly it's just about family, reality TV, just chit-chat back and forth. Enzo's doing a good job of becoming very friendly with Kevin, who will be casting a jury vote. So it's worked out, I think, to Enzo's advantage to be in the have-not room with Kevin before Kevin probably heads out the door on Thursday. All right, guys, we've got an episode tonight. We're going to see about this veto competition where David took the money. And then tomorrow night, a triple eviction. Y'all have a great day. I'll see y'all in 24 hours. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.